Come on. And he did.
Technology is
There
great
you go.
until it isn't.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Rapid Results with Andrew Weiss. We have another wonderful guest today, Dr. Joe Cresswell. And in case you don't know who this Dr. Joe person is, she's a business coach and sales strategist with more than 20 years experience in senior leadership and selling within both higher education and as an entrepreneur. As the director of UK University, she was instrumental in using influence in sales and non-sales selling to help create more than 2.5 million pounds per year in additional research revenue. Now, she works with successful coaches and consultants to help them make more money while working less by unlocking the tapped value in their business. And she helps them create offers that their clients want to buy. Dr. Joe, welcome to Rapid Results. Tell us, what's the biggest and best business deal that you're most proud of, or did I already give it away?
Yeah, that was one of them. No, it's brilliant to be here. Thank you. I think I was really thinking about this, and I think, do you know what? It was probably the first money I made in my business. So after I'd left my career, I will talk about this a bit later, but my career disappeared in the pandemic. Started my own business, didn't know what I was doing, and that first contract I got, it was only maybe $1,500. But it was like, wow, okay, I can do this. More in lines of what we're talking about here. So along with the £2.5 million a year extra I was able to create sort of through the techniques I'm talking about here, I also, when I was working in the university, really through non-sales selling, leading through influence, ended up helping the university create probably about 12 million pounds, that's about $15 million additional income over the following 7 years. So that's kind of, that's the one I brag about.
No, those are amazing. And it's definitely a great feeling getting that first big sale as an entrepreneur, because you're like, oh my gosh, this is possible. I could actually make money from my computer from my house. This is amazing without this is so cool. So yes, I know people are probably intrigued by this concept of non-selling selling. So tell us a little bit about this. Like, what was there to know about it? Yeah, feel free to dive in about that.
Yeah, so I think it's I suppose the question I would sort of pose to you, to everybody who's listening, really is, do you think of yourself as a salesperson? And so many people, even entrepreneurs, will tell you, oh, I'm no good at sales. I'm not a salesperson. I used to say it. When in actual fact, we're all in sales, because it's really it's leading through influence. Anytime anybody who's got a kid and you've got them to clear their room, anytime you've gone out with friends and you've suggested a bar, anything, you've asked somebody to marry you, all of that is selling. But we get in our heads about selling's icky, selling's pushy. So this is what I really talk about. So in my career, I helped research to sell research. That was on the selling part. But equally, a lot of what I did was leading through influence. So really what I was doing was kind of getting people to buy strategies they didn't want to buy, to buy change they didn't want to buy, to lead projects and things. And all of that really was selling, but it was sort of non-sales selling. And just a big epiphany moment for me in my own business. So when I started my business, was just realizing, because I was going with I'm no good at sales. I hate sales. Sales is icky. Sales is pushy. And then I was working with a great coach, and we just reframed it. And he was like, yeah, you've been selling for the last nearly 20 years and you're really good at it. So that's really what I try and sort of help people understand is, you're already in sales. You've been selling for years and you're great at it. Let's take off the icky sales label and let's actually find ways to kind of sell without selling. So rather than selling pushy, icky, we're actually finding ways of selling without selling by connecting with our ideal clients, and doing all that. And I'll talk a little bit more about that, about the how we do that.
No,
But that's essentially what it is.
Yeah, I love that. And I had Bob Berg on my podcast earlier, and he was talking about how like really selling is just when you get money, it's just like a thank you point in return for helping someone, and that's really all it is just helping someone, and how big a deal that is that people need to understand that, and also like the quote by Grant Cardone, like sell or be sold. Like
Yep.
you're either promoting something or someone's promoting to you. Like which one
Yeah.
which one bucket do you want to be in?
Yeah.
And so yeah, let's definitely talk about how you got to the top of the mountain, you like got all this money and fundraising, and of course we'll get to your first client sale too in a little bit. But tell us first, like, did you know right away how to bring in $2.5 million in fundraising, or how did that all come about?
Not really, no. So I mean, gosh, my journey started way back when, and I originally wanted to be a researcher.
Mhm.
So I was a lab rat. I was doing biology research, did that for kind of 3 years, finished my PhD, my doctorate, and then thought, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be a researcher. And partly because I have a really short attention span. So I couldn't see myself researching the same thing for the next 40 years. So I sort of bombed around for a bit. I ended up actually working for an airline buying fuel. So we bought $250 million of fuel a year. So
Jeez.
it was a really good, I think actually I look back and although I hated the job, it was a really good grounding for me, just in sort of getting out of the university into corporate. But what I still really loved research. So I got into, this was in 2002. And the person I was working with, she'd moved up from London to Manchester, which is where I live. And she wanted to set up a research group. And she wanted somebody who had experience in research and a scientific background. I was kind of, yes, that's me. And it was brilliant. So I kind of got to play with everybody else's research without actually having to do it myself. And that's really where I started to learn, what I now know to be selling, but was more just building relationships,
Yeah.
understanding, getting really excited about what the researchers were doing, and then helping them communicate that in such a way that, they could get more funding. Because basically the way it works in universities, you go out to, either the government or a company or a charity and basically say, please fund our research. But it's really competitive. And actually researchers aren't always very good at communicating the value. They're great at talking about the research. It's how you translate that into something that, is going to, the way I used to describe it, you got to get somebody's heart racing in the first couple of seconds.
Couple of seconds?
Literally, you have to, it's that first sentence you write. You have to get their heart racing then. Otherwise you've kind of lost them. So it's that.
Can you give an example of what you used for your first few seconds to get what was the fundraising for, and how did you get them excited in the first few seconds?
Yeah, I mean, it sort of helped. The work we were doing at that place was we were in cancer research. So we were raising money for radiotherapy research. So it was a subject that it's easier to raise funding for.
Definitely.
But a lot of people will sort of launch in, and we do this with business as well. And I'll talk about the framework that this helped me design. But the first thing you've got to do is say, why is this an important problem to solve? So people will launch in and go, well, we're going to do this and we're going to do this. I'm like, well, all right, fair enough. That sounds nice. But actually, if you say, 1 in 2 people will get cancer in their lives. If you live long enough, it used to be 1 in 3, but people are living longer. 1 in 2 people are going to get cancer in their lives. Radiotherapy is curative. Radiotherapy cures people. Cool. Okay, great. So rather than launching straight into going, well, we're going to do this and we're going to study this and this, you start off with that punch, that emotional, almost sort of gut feeling. Oh, wow, this is so important. And we do it in our businesses. Why is this an important problem to solve? You've got me. So that's kind of how I used to do it. And that's really what I learned, was how to do that more skillfully. And then there was the other side, which was generally, again, starting to lead by influence. So we were a university department based in a big hospital. We had to play nicely with the hospital. And traditionally, the relationship hadn't been that good. So I spent a lot of time working with the people at the hospital, finding out what they needed. How
Mm.
can we help you? Rather than you're here to serve us sort of thing. So
Yeah.
that was really what I learned there. I went to work for a government funding body for a few years after that, which I sat on the other side of the table. So I spent 3 years sitting in the committees where people were pitching to us saying, we want funding. So it's
Mm.
great. So I got to see it from the decision maker's perspective.
Yeah.
You
Mm.
really got to see what the experts were kind of going, well, no, you haven't convinced me,
Mhm.
versus this is amazing. So I got that, and then went to work. So eventually, my favorite has been working sort of on the ground with academics, with business owners. So I got a job as associate director at the time, and then got made director, and that was a university-wide role. So suddenly I was working with people of all different disciplines, and I was having to lead strategies, having to lead change, and people were, not unreasonably, people would look at me and go, well, why should we listen to you? And so my approach was always, what I learned the hard way. As with all things, I made colossal mistakes. I had to explain to my boss's boss, I'd only been there 5 months, why the whole academic community hated me, because
Mm.
I'd gone in with a change project that was right, I'd done it in the wrong way.
Mhm.
Didn't do that again. So,
Yeah.
I learned mistakes, but I learned then it was really to sort of sit down with researchers and kind of going, well, A, I'm a science geek. I love what you're doing. Real
Yeah.
genuine interest. And then B, how can I design this to make your life better, your jobs easier?
Mm.
Basically, why should you care? Why should you listen to me? Why should you let me lead you? And really did that to sort of a greater and greater extent. And that was really in doing that, in sort of helping change how we did research, change the environments, change the cultures. That's when we actually went from losing money. We were, the amount we were getting per year was going down, to actually going up by £2.5 million a year. And it was the same principles then that also allowed the sort of the bigger result of the sort of 12 million over 7 years. So yeah, I learned it over kind of 18 years, some of it the hard way.
No, that makes sense. So you said it's a very competitive field, asking for research funding, and so it sounds like there's a lot of different companies, organizations, research labs out there that want to help with cancer funding, essentially, or that need cancer funding. And so you said you would stand out by actually talking on a personal level with everyone who works at the hospital. And then what? And so tell us again, what's an example? Because if you're competing against 10 other research labs who also want funding, like what is something you would say in your pitch to help stand out, essentially?
Yeah. And you've actually led really nicely
Mhm.
into the framework that I developed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this was something again that I discovered organically.
Yeah.
And this is what I used to teach the researchers, which is the 5 whys.
Mm.
And this
Mm.
works in business. We have to do this in business as well. It's the 5 whys. And so you really get to know the funding body. So you know what they're about. You look at their values, their principles, what they tend to fund. Some people, some charities like to fund, lab research. Some of the government funding bodies, you have to fund research that's actually going to go into, say, hospitals. Is going to have direct benefit. So you need to know what's important to them. So again, the 5 whys is really, why is this an important problem to solve? What magnitude is it? How many million people in the country and the world have this? Why is this an important problem to solve? And we do this with our clients in business. The next one is, why them? Why that funding body? So why is what we're doing particularly going to meet their needs, meet their strategies? fulfill their vision. And this is where a lot of people fall down, because almost they have the one sort of application that they write, and they just throw it to every funding body. But
Interesting.
you
Yeah.
have to really get into the heart and soul of the person who is going to essentially buy from you.
Yeah.
And really say, why them? Why is this going to make such a difference to them, their aims, their end users? Why now? Why is now absolutely the right time to do it? It might be, there's a political situation. It might be this now that the timing is absolutely right in that subject that we're studying in cancer. The time is absolutely right. Other reasons, well, what happens if we don't do it now? We fall behind. Cancer gets worse, and it's a big problem in the UK. Actually, cancer is after the pandemic, we're having a real problem catching up with cancer. So, that's why now is really important. And again, why now it's important to them. Why here? So for us, it was why at this university. So why are we fabulous? Why do we have everything that's going to make it right? In our businesses, it's sort of why here. It might be why online, why face to face, why in a community, why live, whatever. And then the last one, I think that's we've done 4 so far. The last one then is why us. So you notice what most people do is put why me first. When we're selling, we almost feel like we have to go, I'm really, really good. I'm really, really good. Please buy from me. My thing is really good. Please buy from me. I mean, people are just like, well, I don't care about you. Actually, we have to go through why they should care about what we're doing. And then we come in and say, we've sold you on all of that. You're already going, yeah, love it. And then you come in and go, well, why me? Why are we different? Why am I different? Why am I ideally suited to help you do this? And you can see, I'm talking about what we did in research, but you can see how this works in business as well. And when we can do all of that, it's then less selling. Then we start to get in the selling without selling, because people are actually genuinely interested. And so, they're almost sold before we get to the, and here's the, here's the number.
I love that. And sorry, what are the 5 whys again? It's why now, why, or summarize the 5 whys again.
So it's why this, why this is an
this.
important problem to solve. Why them? So why are they ideally suited to this, to be solving this problem? Why is this problem important to them? Why now? What could they gain by acting now? What might they lose from not acting now? Why here? So it might be here, if you have an agency, it might be here in this agency. It might be here as in, I'm doing it online. You're going to be part of my community. And then after all of that, once we've got them sold on all of that, then we go, why me? Why am I then the best person? Why am I the new opportunity? Why am I different? And why am I ideally suited to you?
I love this, because it's also there's also 5 whys exercise of like why you want to do anything ever, and it's just like
we do it with ourselves. I have an exercise. I do both with my clients. It's kind of like, okay, why for you? Why why do you want to do this? Why do you want to work with those people? Why is now a good time for you? So it works equally.
No, I love that. And so let's talk about you getting your first client, because I know that's a transition that a lot of people make, is they're like working in corporate life, they're getting all the success, and then you're like, oh wait, now I have to figure out how to do this on my own without all these teams behind me, and I can't say I'm part of a prestigious university. I'm just myself. It's so let's talk about that journey.
Yeah. So I'd for a little while, I think I'd been not quite as sort of satisfied with my career, because as I've said, I love being on the ground working with researchers. But the higher you go, the more I was doing budgets and politics and sort of managing people. Oh God. And I'd been on the sort of fast track. So my career had advanced really quickly, and I was on the fast track to be a chief operating officer. And then
Wow.
I went on a course, a development course for people who wanted to be chief operating officers. And I kind of looked around the room and I just went, no, I'm not you. This is not for
Mhm.
me. So that's when the cracks started to show. And in the end, I actually burnt out for many reasons, but I burnt out. And this was October 2019. So you can sort of
Mm.
see where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
Spent a couple of months just literally sitting on the couch watching Marvel movies. It was a project. It gave me a project.
Uh-huh.
And then, I decided to take voluntary severance. They had a good deal. And I was just sort of starting to come out of come off the settee. And I had 3 jobs lined up, 3 director jobs lined up. I was shortlisted for them all. I'd been headhunted. It was almost pick which one. And this was in February 2020.
Whew.
Interviews were scheduled for March, April. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden, all the jobs went away. And I'd already pretty much, the ink was still wet on the severance agreement. So I found myself unemployed, potentially unemployable at the start of a global pandemic. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of what I
Yeah,
said. Yes,
jeez.
I said
Yeah.
it in other words than that, but yes, that's largely what I said.
Yeah.
But actually, I decided I had money, so I thought, you know what, I'm just going to take a break. And I just thought, because I'm always moving forward, so I thought I'll take a coaching diploma. What the hell, while I've got nothing to do, I'll do that.
Mhm.
And then sort of thought, oh well, yeah, okay, I like this. And I realized, well, I've been coaching for years. Again, as a leader, it's a big part of my job was coaching. So I got in a really good sort of mentoring group for people like me. And it was one of those just like, oh, what the hell, I'll start my own business. Why not? Leap of faith. But what I'd been doing that summer, I'd been on LinkedIn. And because I didn't have an employer and I wasn't trying to impress a potential employer, I was just going onto LinkedIn and just shooting the breeze. I was talking about leadership. That's what I was focusing on at the time. Commenting, posting, just having a great conversation around leadership. And I think I launched my business beginning of September. Within about a week, somebody contacted me and said, "Hey, can I have a call?" And I was like, "No."
No. You said no. That's funny.
Oh my God, what? So I went to my coach and kind of went, what do I do? What do I do? I hadn't
Mhm.
really thought. I do tend to sort of leap before I look, so I hadn't really thought this
Yeah.
through. And she sort of coached me on what to do. And it was great. Had this conversation, gave this price, which I thought was ridiculously expensive.
Mhm.
And the woman just went, yeah,
Wow.
all right. And it was almost like, "Well, don't you want to haggle or something?" I mean, in fact, she
Yeah.
pretty much signed up. She said, "Yes, okay, when do we start?" And I was almost like,
Mhm.
"Don't you want to know how much it is?"
Mhm.
And I had all this rubbish going through my head, just thinking, I've got no business taking people's money for this. I don't know what I'm doing. But actually, I think we were working together for 3 months. She'd hit her goals by 6 weeks. So, and then I was kind of, okay, I can do this. So it's, obviously that first year was pretty challenging. I had to do a lot of work on me.
So you
One big
were coaching her on leadership, though?
Yeah, so she'd had quite a challenging experience, not too far from what I'd had, but hers was a little more traumatic. Um, so some of it was kind of just moving past that. Other of it was actually, really just getting in touch with what she wanted to do, what her skills were. And for her, I think the thing was actually being able to move past it. But we sort of got to that point and it was, oh, right, okay. But she ended up, I think a few months later, she started her own business. That's
Oh,
been going
wow.
now
Nice.
since, it's probably been going for about 3 years now.
Yeah, nice,
So that
okay.
was really good. So that kind of, okay, I can do this. And really over the years then, I've just sort of changed, I've learned, I've grown, I've moved my niche, to
Mhm.
where it is now. But that
S
was the first money. That was kind of like, oh, okay, yeah.
No, the
Somebody,
first client is always
yeah.
such a big win. Like it's such a good feeling because like yeah, coming from the nonprofit space, it's used to get paid like $2,000 a month out of college, and I'm like, oh man, I guess this is okay. And then when I got my first client who paid me $1,000 for like 6 coaching calls, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It's um,
You get to right. I've been angling for a raise for years,
mhm,
um, and this is what I teach people now is how to raise your pricing,
yeah,
but and feel comfortable about doing it. And that was a revelation.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so tell us, so does a majority of your clients come from LinkedIn currently?
Ye- Um, Previously, yes. So
Mhm,
I've sort of been changing a little bit the way I do it. So I get referrals. So I've had a
mhm,
few referrals. Reaching out to contacts and that sort of thing. Another route I'm also looking at is partnering with people as well, because
mm,
because I have a very 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 specific niche.
yeah.
It actually works quite well with, particularly people with sort of, social media agencies, those sort of things. Have actually, my offer slots very nicely into what they do. So I'm really looking at different ways of, reaching people who can benefit from my services. And I actually have two separate businesses. One is
Oh.
kind of a research consultancy. One is a sales consultancy. Basically, I'm doing the same things.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
sure.
selling without selling, but it's
Mhm.
in different settings. So again, it's, I mean, I had one. I mean, what one very promising link was just I commented on somebody's post on LinkedIn, and we got into a conversation.
Yeah.
I was at a networking event. Somebody else, so I think it's LinkedIn has been incredibly important. It's a massive part of my brand. It's where I have my presence. Um, so that's my shop window is LinkedIn.
Mm. Well, no, I love that. And how did you get into your niche? Because I know like a
Mm,
lot of people are like, I don't know what to sell, how to sell to people, what to do. Like I
mm,
know like people
yeah.
always get in their own way about that. So how did you
Yeah.
prevent yourself from getting your own way about that?
Yeah. Oh God. Experimenting. I
Mm.
kind of went. I think the way I describe it is I sort of went on niche safari. Um,
Yeah.
so I started off. I mean, I started off doing what I knew, which
Mhm.
is probably a good place to start.
Yeah.
I started doing leadership and mindset,
Mm.
and that's what I started doing. Um, but again, it was kind of it's all right, but this isn't quite what I want to be doing. So was working with a good coach. So I've done some coaching in universities for leadership. That's great. But again, it was, still not what I wanted to be doing. Then I got in with a very good coach, more of a sales coach. And what I realized when he was teaching me these techniques, I was kind of like, I've been doing this for years. Not the sort of specifics, the mechanics of it, but the actual principles of selling. It's like, yeah, I've been doing this for years. So that really then sort of, I started to niche down into sales. And I know a lot of people I had the same was, well, you know, what if I niche down? I'm going to lose people. I'm going to lose
Mhm.
customers. But when you sort of say you're a coach, that doesn't tell anybody anything. So then I started to niche down. So then it was really okay, how to sort of sell for businesses. And then was doing that, and again, it still wasn't quite right. It wasn't. I think one of the problems was I didn't necessarily have confidence in what I was selling because there
Mm.
were other people out there who could. It wasn't my sort of genius, so I was good at it. I was probably very good at it, but it wasn't what I was best at, and I knew there were other people out there that were better than me doing it. So I felt a bit of a
Mhm.
fraud. Um, and then started working with a completely different coach. You can sort of see there's a common theme. Coaching has been incredibly important to me. Going
Yeah.
to a completely different coach, and actually the work I've done with him has very much been almost stripping everything back, sorting me out, sorting my business out, everything, and then building back up. And that's when I sort of thought, okay, yeah, yes, I'm in sales, but I really got specific. And again, it happened quite by chance. And I think this is the thing I would say to anybody, just look out for those chance moments because you
Mm.
never know which is the one. And my coach calls them threads of interest. So you pull on threads and one of them is the one. And
Mm.
so I quite by chance, so I'd had a sales call with somebody who was referred to me, and he wasn't sure. He wasn't sure about investing in, a 6 month package. So I just picked up this and why don't we do a kind of a 2 hour, 3 hour sort of strategy call, brainstorm. I picked a number out the air. He was like, yeah, okay. It was really good. We got so much done in 3 hours. And then he went, yeah, gotcha. 6 months.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And so what I then started doing was offering that, and now I call it intensive business design. But it is just in sort of 3 hours or so, we'll go really deep into your business. And then at the end of it, you've kind of got actionable strategies to then take forwards. It's had really good success. People love it. And so that then I've niched right down. And that's now where I'm having the success. So,
Mm.
and then on the other side, I've launched my own research consultancy. So that again, I've niched very much down in there. So it's very much on how do you get research into business. Let's say. And I'm getting great success there as well. And it feels like there's and this is something I was going to say to people is, it feels like all of a sudden now my business is growing to the next level. And the last month
Yeah.
has been just incredible. And it
Nice.
And anybody looking at somebody else and going, "Oh, why is that taking off?" Anybody else looking from the outside, why suddenly is she getting that success? Because I've been working really hard for the last 3, 4 years, trying things, experimenting, niching down, niching down, niching down. So that's really how I got to where I am, which is it's using. Now I know I'm excellent. Now I know I'm really, really good at this sort of helping people identify the value, basically so they can raise their prices, get really clear on the audience. But it takes time and it takes support and it takes a bit of courage,
Yeah. Yeah,
a
'cause it's
bit
courage
daring.
to have to
Yeah.
say no to other things so you can say yes to important things per se.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what obviously you have the research consultancy. What is the super niche that you have now?
So that again, I think there's a lot of people out there, probably ex-directors, that sort of thing, who will come and help, support various bits of research and that sort of thing. Where again, I'm getting most interest. And again, it wasn't something I intentionally did, but it's in the conversations I've had, that's where I've been picking up the interest, which is so my niche there is really how you get research, kind of almost how you get research out of the lab or out
Mm.
of academia. Because traditionally it's been sort of you do the research and you publish a paper in maybe a big journal or obscure, but it's essentially it used to be a piece of paper, now it's electronic. And for me, it's kind of like, well, yeah, okay. How do we get it into business? How do we
Mm.
get it making money? How do we get it into students so that we're really improving their education and their experience? They're paying us money first to teach them. And working in that sort of almost that triangle of research business students brings in more money for the universities. It's what I love doing. I love making connections. And there's a gap. What I've discovered is there's a gap. So partly I'm coaching academics to learn how to speak with businesses, coaching businesses, that sort of thing. So again, the niche somewhat found me when I started having the right conversations.
So this was the research niche, or this is your sales niche?
Kind of both actually, but yeah, the
Oh.
research niche, I was having the right conversations with the right people and
Mm.
almost, together. And this is what I talk about a lot with my clients is co-creating the
Mm.
offer. Now, what a lot of people do is they go and sit in a room for 3 months and write an entire big long program. I did it. My first mindset program was degree level, it was
Yeah.
ridiculously complicated. Took me months. And it was too much. So, rather than doing that, rather than sort of thinking I have to have this whole thing completed before I can sell it, is actually talk to your target audience. They will tell you what they need. And if you're having those, so almost rather than having the conversation of, here's my thing, buy it. Here's my thing, buy it. Which, that's when it gets icky. Rather than, what is it you need? Okay. Okay. So how could we do that?
Yeah.
Right. What if we created something like this, and you talk to enough people and you suddenly realize there's common themes. And so now what I'm doing is, from those strategy things, now I'm building out a program. So it's more of a funnel. But so for both sides, both of my businesses, it's been talking to the people, finding out what they need, co-creating with them the offer. And then that's when you come and actually, then you're not selling it. Because you've co-created it with somebody and they're sort of like, yeah, all right, okay, where do we sign?
Yeah.
And that's the difference. So then it becomes almost an invitation for people to buy from us. And I think the sort of thing I say is, how do you design things that your client wants to buy? You do it with them,
Yeah.
you know,
No,
get them to
so
help you.
you personally customize each program for each person that you work with?
Um, yes, I have been, because I've been creating new offers. So I've had programs, I've had one-to-one programs and group programs, and sort of developed and adapted those. Because I've sort of gone into this new niche, I've been very much in a exploration phase, and discovering again that actually these intensive business design sessions are really high value.
Yeah.
So I've been able to sort of sell those and get a massive impact from those. And I'm, wow, okay, gosh, so this actually is a really powerful offer for me. So with those people, yes, I will sort of design things bespoke. So for my one-to-one, very high ticket, it's usually bespoke. It's designed for them, but using all the same. I have a big toolkit, so it's from that toolkit. But you say what I'm now doing to make it scalable now is starting to think about what might the program look like? What is the freebie? What's the funnel to help people at all levels? Same with the universities at the moment. Design. There's one big project that I'm designing with them. But what I've started to see, again, I've started to see commonalities, and a program I've already got, I can adapt, and then I can sell that. So I think it's, for scalability, you really need something that's consistent, that you can sort of sell at volume. But to do that, I've been in a sort of that exploration phase of finding out what customers want, what they need it to look like.
No, it makes sense. I love that.
Mm,
We'll have a few questions left here,
mm.
and one of those questions is, what do you believe are the non-negotiable actions as an entrepreneur to be successful?
Ooh, very good. I did have a think about this as well. Um, do the work, do your research. It's not sexy, it takes time. Often we don't know who to ask or what questions to ask, but really do your research. And I think the way to do that is just talk to people, build relationships with your audience. Um, just really get to know people.
Mm.
People love to talk. They love to
Yeah.
talk about themselves, and particularly if you're coming from a genuine curiosity. So, rather than sort of go, buy my thing, well, why should I? It's not aligned to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
It's actually do the research, talk to people, build relationships. They will then want to buy from you. The other thing is get really, really, you have to get clear on the value you bring.
Mm.
And when business owners are rubbish at doing this. We tend to charge based on what we think we're worth, or what an hour of our time is worth, and we're terrible at it.
Yeah.
Really, really bad at it. So as we're doing our research, we understand actually just how valuable what we're doing is to our clients. So it's nothing. The least relevant part of our pricing is how much of an hour of our time is worth. It's
Mm.
how much of an hour our client's time is worth, or how much that transformation is worth to them. So that's the other thing, is get clear on the value. And then experiment. So remember, don't go and sit in a room for 3 months and write something and then get really upset because nobody buys it.
Yeah.
And then go and do it again and do it again.
Mhm.
Like, that. It's rubbish. I learned the hard way. So experiment, co-create, create something, see what works, get it out there. Suggest something off the top of your head and see if that pull on threads of interest. But just experiment. Don't be afraid to fail. And I'm a scientist. I'm a science geek. And the day I reframed everything I do to an experiment means there's no such thing as failure. There's only information and learning that you put into the next go. So I think those are the three: is do your research, get really clear on the value, the true value, and experiment, have a go.
Oh, I love that. Well, yeah, and I'm curious too. What is the next end game that you're working on? Like, what's? I know you said you've had sounds like one of your best months ever in your business. Like, what are you working towards? Like, here's where I want to be. Here's what I'm going for. I'm curious about your dreams and aspirations and ambitions.
So for me, part of it is just really taking the research consultancy, really taking that forward. So I think for me, it's going to be creating programs, in that space, in that niche. On the sales side, it's definitely creating an offer that I can then sell at value, which is around these this intensive business design, intensive business delivery. So it's getting people results more quickly. And I think for me, what I want to be doing there is almost partnering with people. So being able to bring value to other people's audiences. So that's probably the game for me, which is, again, completely new for me, but it's actually building those really, really powerful partnerships, which then increases the reach. So for me, it's all about kind of growth. I'm experimenting again. I'm experimenting now at a new level.
I love that. Well, tell us, Dr. Joe, do you have anything you want to offer our audience, or what's the best way to contact you? Let us know about all that.
Sure. So if you want your own 5 whys worksheet, so if you want to be able to work through the 5 whys for your audience, for yourself, to really create those offers that people want to buy, you can email me at Joe, that's J-O, at joannecresswell.co.uk. And will that be in the show notes?
Yes, I'll put that in the show notes. Yes.
So just email me there, send me a quick email, and I can send you your own 5 whys worksheet to help create the offers that your clients want to buy. You can also find me on LinkedIn at Dr. Joe Cresswell, research and business consultant.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Joe. To end today's interview, tell us what's the one takeaway you want people to have from our conversation today.
I think it is, you're already brilliant at sales. You've been doing it all of your life. And selling is not about you. Selling's about the other person. So, don't worry about sales. Don't tell yourself you're not a salesperson, because you are. You're brilliant at it. So go do it.
It's very inspiring. Well, thank you so much. This has been incredible. Please make sure to connect with Dr. Joe on LinkedIn, send her an email. Make sure to comment in this episode about what you learned today, and we'll see you next time for the next episode. Take care, everyone.
Fantastic. Thank you.